Okay, so today we get to multiply binomials, and we will multiply them horizontally. Okay, so when we had a monomial times a binomial, what property did we use to multiply? Hannah? No, we used the, Nick? What did you just say? You said distributive, right? We would just take the 6a and we would distribute it across the binomial. So we're going to use that same property to multiply two terms with two terms. We're going to take the 6a. This first time we're going to kind of expand this out, and then as we move through these we won't have to write as much. But in order to see the distributive property, we'll take the first term 6a and we'll multiply to the first term in the second expression. So we end up with 6a times 7a, right? Plus, we'll take the first term and distribute it to the second term of the second expression. So we have 6a times 3. So we have distributed 6a to both terms in the second binomial. Everybody happy so far? Right? Got it? Okay. So now what do you think we're going to have to do now? Distribute the second term. Good. So we're going to take the 4 and multiply it to the first term in the second binomial. So 4 times 7a. And 4 goes to the second term. 4 times 3. So we took each term in the first binomial and we distributed it to both terms of the second. That seems logical, right? And that's how you do it, okay? But sometimes we don't write all of these steps down. We just say, oh, 6a times 7a is, 6 times 7 is 42, and then a times a is a squared, right? Plus, what is 6a times 3? 6 times 3? 18 a's, right? There's only one a factor there, so just 18a. Plus 4 times 7a is?
28a.
Good, 28a. And then we have 4 times 3, which is? 12. Okay, do you see any terms that could be combined in this? Isabella? 18a. Yeah, these are like terms. So what is 18 apples plus 28 apples? Lauren? Good, 46. So 46 A's are here, and that's often the case when we multiply a binomial with a binomial. We get a couple of terms that could be combined, so you've got to do that. You've got to combine them. The 12 cannot be combined with anything, and the 42a squared can't. So we end up with a trinomial, which again, that's often the case when we multiply two binomials together.
How come the 18a and the 28a, how come it's not 46a squared since it's 2?
Because, do you hear, that's a good question, and sometimes people do that at first, right? 18a plus 28a is, 18 plus 28 is 46. So you're adding those, and then all of a sudden you're multiplying a times a if you say a squared. You understand? Mm-hmm. So if I have 6 students and I add 5 students, do I now have 11 students squared? Or do I just have 11 students? Right? They're just things I'm adding. That's all it is. Okay? So it's like when I use the idea of iPads or whatever. Imagine the A's 18 iPhones plus 28 iPhones is simply 46 iPhones. It didn't multiply those differently. We're adding like things. Okay? That's it. If we were multiplying them, look what we did in the first, Riley. We did 6a times 7a, timesing it, right? We times them both. 6 times 7 and a times a. We did everything was multiplied. And we ended up with 42, and then a times a gave us a squared. So we didn't add and multiply in that, did we? We multiplied both things. Okay, I know it's tricky, and people will make that mistake at first. But when we're adding, we don't multiply the variables. We simply add. Okay, let's try it again. Now this one is a little trickier because what do we see? Negatives. So what will we do?
Add the opposite.
Add the opposite. until we have practiced so many that we might not need to. But this is the safest way to begin. So 4b, rather than writing that out, can we do the multiplication as we go? 4b times negative b is, and Courtney says there would be like a -1 here, that's right. So 4b times -1b is?
Negative 4b squared.
Good, -4b squared. B times b is b squared. See, this is all multiplication. Okay, plus 4b times 2. Good, 8b. Plus -5 times -1b. -5 times -1b. Negative times a negative. So it's 5b. Good. And then -5 times a positive 2 is -10. Good. Okay, and our like terms? Here they are again in the middle. And what is 8b? 8 boats plus 5 boats. 13 boats. We don't square it, we just call it 13 b's. So -4b squared plus 13b, and we can simplify and call that -10 or -10, right? Okay, there's a little acronym that people often use when multiplying a binomial to a binomial like this. Does anyone know it? Because I think I shared it with you earlier this year. Remember? Or maybe I didn't share it with your class, I don't know. Notice, we're going to come up with the letters here. The first thing we did was we multiplied the first term in the first binomial with the first term in the second, right? First term, so there's an F. And then we multiplied the first term with the absolute last, and we call these two the outside terms. And then we moved and multiplied the -5 to the -1b. So that's not outside, those are inside terms. There's an I. And then we multiplied -5 to the last term, and they're both last. So this acronym is FOIL. Sometimes people say FOIL it. And that means distribute a binomial to a binomial. That's what foiling is. Okay? So let's try that with this pair of problems here. If you're going to FOIL, then it's good to draw those arches that I was drawing. It reminds you to use a distributive property. Okay? So Braden, what will we do first?
Distribute
What?
x to 7 to x to x.
You know what? We are not multiplying x to 7. We're adding x plus 7. So we never multiply within the parentheses. Okay? So we go first term here to first term in the second parentheses. Okay? What is x times x? Good. And then we go outside terms. The first and the absolute last, outside terms. Which gives us
X
times 3.
3x.
Good. And then we go inside. And what do we get there?
7x.
7x. And then we go last terms. Good. And now tell us what this is when you simplify. These two can be combined.
10x.
Good. X squared plus 10x plus 21. Okay, good. We're going to send you off to the other end of the country, and you got it right, Courtney. For you. Okay, so wait, maybe you want to do this one first.
No.
Okay, this one's more difficult, so we're definitely going to have you do this one, since you're doing so well. Instead of subtracting, what are we going to do, Courtney?
We're going to add the opposite.
And we've got 2 of them, don't we? Okay, so now tell us, when we do our first, what do we have?
1p squared.
Good, p squared. When we do outside, what do we have?
Negative 3b.
Good. And inside?
Negative 4b.
And last.
Up.
Good job. And when we combine outside, inside, we get?
70.
Negative 70 and plus 12. Anyone else get it right? Good job. Good job. Excellent. Look how good you're doing, even with negatives. Okay. So pause the video, come back and check your answers here. And there we go by Chris. Good job, Chris. Go ahead. First, d squared. Outside.
Is that a 5?
Yes. Inside. Last. Here, I'll just back it up a little bit. D squared plus 11D plus 30. Good job, Hannah. Okay, number 6. First. Outside. She has 1x squared I'm going to back you up so we can have a little bit of the same order we've been using. Let's see. You did the first term. You did, let me see if I can get that negative back. There we go. You did x times x and got x squared, right? I'm going to move it. Whoop, I can't move it over. Okay, so that's fine. And then you did x times -1, and then you wrote -3x. You were jumping ahead to this term, right? What is x times -1? So go ahead and put that next. Okay, and now we go to -3 times x. There you go. And the last thing is -3 times -1, right? Good. Now, you didn't write this as plus a -x and plus a -3x, but can you combine them correctly? Okay. I have -3 and -1. -3x's and -1x is -3 plus -1, right? Good. -4x's. Good. So we have x squared plus -4x plus 3, or x squared minus 4x plus 3. Good. And the last one? Okay, this one's a little more challenging because we have coefficients in front of both variables. See that? 5s plus 3 and 2s minus 4. We have a positive and a negative. So we have 5, I've said it about 5 times now. 5s plus 3, 2s minus 4. If this was 55 plus 3, what would you do? You would add it. They are like terms. You would have 58, and you would just distribute. Okay, so I'm sorry if my writing is not legible. 10s squared. S squared and 5s times -4, which is -20s. Then we come inside, right? 3 times 2s. Let me see if I can move you over. Just a second here. Move you over. Give you a little room. Let me get rid of this stuff. There. Do you have room enough now? One more? Here we go. 25 seconds, Nick. You gotta go. -12. Combine like terms. Can we make it? 20 seconds. Counting down. -20s plus 6s.
-14.
That's right, Courtney. There you go. Easier than the whole entire year, right there. There you go. Have fun. Tomorrow's a quiz to just end their year on a good note.